everybody, and welcome to our brand new episode here this week of the
Geek Buddies.
Can you tell someone's in the mood for Wicked? Can you tell someone's in the mood for Wicked?
Happy Wicked Weekend to all who celebrate. Hey!
In terms of those who celebrate, not everyone on this screen, apparently.
I've accepted the fact that you guys are the Ebenezer Scrooges of musical theater. It's cool.
What? How dare you? Listen, how dare you? I know.
I'm wearing my Elphaba green.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Elphaba green on. I mean, for God's sakes, I'm in support.
What you wearing, musical theater fan? Something from Marvel? You big poser.
Listen, I've seen Wicked. I know how I feel.
Yes. That is coming out this weekend. We will have a spoiler review of that movie a little bit later on. We'll make some announcements of what day that's going to happen, but we were discussing it before we started doing the show. So once we lock down a day and a time, we will let you all know about this one, because clearly Michael is much more in the right on this one, judging from the early box office numbers. And for me, trying to get a seat in San Diego for a showing of this movie over the next couple of days, there is a lot of interest in this film. I went to see a Joker pre-screen with only 20 people in the theater. That same night that same Monday before the start of Wicked, I couldn't get a seat in any of the theaters around here. So that tells me there's a huge amount of interest in this. Michael might be right. This might break $1 billion, much to my surprise. So we will see in the long run. There's a lot of awards talk as well with this movie. I
will tell you now. I am ready to. I know you're seeing it this afternoon, right?
I am. Yeah. Yes. This afternoon.
And I'm seeing it again tonight. And I know that Shannon and the Lady McClung and a big group of us are going tonight. So I will be seeing it again. So I will know Shannon's thoughts as we get out of the theater. Listen, man, Ariana Grande is gonna get nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah, we'll see. They're rigging the category. We'll see. Anyway, let's move on, because we got a lot to talk about here in this particular episode of the Geek Buddies. We got a lot to talk about for DC connected stuff. We got some trailers to hit. We got some uncomfortable conversations around the Harry Potter series. And we're going to talk a little bit about Ben Affleck's comments about AI. It's some really fascinating comments he made in a recent sit-down, 30-minute interview there with CNBC, talking about the future of AI and how it affects filmmaking and what have you, that the three of us found super interesting to discuss. So we will do that. And the way the show works is each of us brings up a geek news item for those of you who might be new. We talk about it amongst ourselves, take a couple of breaks, and then get into our main topic. And the Ben Affleck story will be our main topic. But let's start it off with this one, and that is Sgt. Rock. This is seems like it's legitimately going to happen here. Daniel Craig is being eyed to star in the DC Studios feature Sgt. Rock, directed by, this is absolutely the truth, directed by Luca Guadagnino, yes, of Challengers and Call Me By Your Name fame and Suspiria remake fame. Luca Guadagnino will be directing a Sgt. Rock movie, and Daniel Craig is being eyed as the person to play Sgt. Rock. Screenwriter Justin Kuritzkis, who just penned Challengers, which I personally loved this year, and Queer, which I haven't quite seen yet, will be doing the script for this one. Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis were eyed for previous iterations of this. And Guadagnino does have an American Psycho remake that he's working on, but After the Hunt is the next film that he's got coming out from Amazon MGM Studios with Julia Roberts, Andrew Garfield, and Ayo Edebiri as a part of this. So, and Sgt. Rock was featured in that trailer for Creature Commandos. So, James Gunn said in that announcement that we covered over a year ago that the voiceover animated people will also play them live action. So will this be Daniel Craig coming in now to represent Sgt. Rock fully in the DCU? So what are your thoughts on this, Michael? This is a World War II hero who basically has sixth sense, but no other power than that, and a regular human being, an American hero played by a British actor. What are your thoughts on this idea of all of this happening here, and do you believe it will come to fruition?
Listen, I don't know, but all I can think of, I'm not saying they're going to do it, but all I can think of is like, you going to make Sgt. Rock gay?
Oh,
Sgt. Rock going to be gay? I don't think they are, but like, I mean, you look at like that trailer for Queer, you look at the body of work, you look at what the interest is in the types of stories you want to tell, the things you want to explore, and you're like, what was the take that you brought in that everyone was like, let's go with that? I mean, it's wild to me, but aside from wondering about the content of the movie and what the take is, because it will be very, very different than a version that would have had an Arnold Schwarzenegger or a Bruce Willis in it, for sure. True. Whether there is a queer element of it or not, it is clear that in the hands of this director, there is a more subtle, sensitive, nuanced version of Sgt. Rock than we would have gotten previously. The other part that I think is really interesting, though, is, you know, when you start trying to figure out what the shape of this DC universe is, and James Gunn has been really clear about the fact that this is, and we've talked about this 1,000 times, but this is where we're starting to see how those pieces are going to fall, which is this isn't the Marvel universe. Like, Tony Stark putting on that Iron Man armor isn't year 0 of superheroes. And we just build from there. We're starting with Superman, but it is clear that there have been heroes around. Hal Jordan was a hero. John Stewart is where we are going to pick things up. So there is a history of superheroes. And so placing Sgt. Rock in the history of the DC universe and telling a story about someone who, as far as I can tell, as John said, is a normal man. So this isn't someone who's going to stay young forever and their version of Captain America. Like, Sgt. Rock existed, and I assume, unless they do something wild, Sgt. Rock isn't going to be around in modern day. But there are certain characters, like former Green Lanterns, most obviously like Wonder Woman, who we have heard nothing about, who would have been around at this point in history. So is this a way to soft introduce Wonder Woman? Like, what is the story here? So I do find it really intriguing. Sgt. Rock, not top of my list of DC heroes. It's not like I'm the biggest Sgt. Rock stan and holy shit, I can't wait for the Sgt. Rock movie. But the fact that this seems to be gaining some momentum, while at the same time, James Gunn is saying they're really taking their time with the Brave and Bold movie and they don't want to release it until they don't want to start production until the script is exactly right. The fact that this is falling into place, knowing that we do see Sgt. Rock in the animated Creature Commandos, it's like, well, there's a story here. Are we going to see the Creature Commandos in this movie? You know, I mean, like, there's a lot of questions about this, but and maybe it's because I am very attuned to the Star Wars universe that loves to tell stories out of historical order. So we'll get this movie, then we'll get this movie, then we'll get this series that takes place between these two movies. So what James Gunn is doing is kind of taking a page from the Star Wars book and saying, look, I'm going to tell this thing in World War II or World War I. I'm going to tell this thing in modern day. I'm going to tell this thing here. This Themyscira series also sounds like it's going to be the history of Themyscira. Is Sgt. Rock going to end up there? So I think it could be a really, really interesting character to sort of flesh out this era of superheroes in the DC world. And I'm kind of curious to see what Gunn is doing.
Yes, Shannon, this is a well-known character for the people who are in the DC Comics bubble or extended out comic books bubble. We all know Sgt. Rock. We've seen the issues on the stand. How many of us have actually picked up and bought a Sgt. Rock comic? Probably not that many, but enough to keep it in circulation, enough to keep it a character that people know about, and occasionally pops up in stories throughout DC. So it's a fascinating character to take in. By one perspective, it makes sense for Luca Guadagnino to grab a character that's not that well known and be able to mess around with it and do something really interesting. We're currently doing James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy on the Cinephiles. And of course, that is a film that a lot of people are like, who knows who the Guardians of the Galaxy are? And it became such a massive success. Remember Shannon and I going to see the Nowhere sequence in IMAX one of those afternoons when I was living in LA. So it's a fascinating idea to give it to Luca Guadagnino and Daniel Craig coming in to play Sgt. Rock. And Michael's points here, Shannon, about are they going to have a gay approach to this, which is an interesting thing with Luca Guadagnino. And the consistency.
You know.
Oh my God. Is it don't ask, don't tell? So Shannon, what are your thoughts on this? Do you like this idea? Does it work for you? And does it excite you at all as a fan of this kind of DC comic stuff?
I mean, Luca Guadagnino is a great director.
Yeah.
Like there is a reason that he attracts the caliber of talent that he attracts, especially now having worked with Daniel Craig and Queer, and they want to work together again. I mean, and I think that's always an encouraging sign as to where it's going to fit. It's interesting how Gunn was saying in that one interview about Brave and the Bold is like, we're not going to go until we're ready. And it's kind of like, so you've mapped out this thing. I think you have an endpoint in mind. How do we get there? And then acknowledging the fact that this is a world, modern day at least, when Superman is happening, this is a world that has been populated by metahumans for a while. At least in Creature Commandos, we see the flashback to World War II with G.I. Robot. And the presumption is, I mean, outside of the whole Themyscira angle, the supernatural elements existed in the world in World War II. And perhaps Sgt. Rock is a part of that inflection point where it starts to become more globally spanning, I think. So in terms of him grabbing a character that most people are not overly familiar with. I mean, Sgt. Rock was a war comic for the majority of its existence. And it's only been in the more recent times that he has been a part of some of the, those broader DC titles. So it's super fascinating. It's interesting because not that there's an age limit on what a sergeant is, but Daniel Craig is closing in on 60.
Fair points.
I mean, Pete Maverick Mitchell was still a captain in Top Gun Maverick. So, I mean, you can certainly justify anything. Also, is Daniel Craig Sgt. Rock? They didn't say that. They just said he was going to be they said they were teaming up for the movie. So that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be Sgt. Rock. I mean, it probably. But it's super interesting. And Daniel Craig as a guy, who was James Bond for, the last 15 years, is part of the Knives Out franchise. He's a guy an actor that obviously incredibly talented and audiences really do gravitate towards. It's sort of like, when is he going to put on the cape? I mean, there was that talk that he was going to be Balder the Brave in the Multiverse of Madness sequence before COVID hit. Maybe he's going to be a part of this universe and just not be wearing a cape, wearing a helmet. So, it's exciting, but also very, very curious. A lot of James Gunn's DC universe right now is very, very curious. I think we will get a lot of questions answered when we see that first trailer. And then people will either enjoy it or lose their minds further.
Well, which is apparently the rumor is that trailer comes out on my birthday. So I feel like that's already a good sign, guys. Feels like a good sign to me.
Yeah, it is supposed to come attached to the Mufasa movie, but it will be, the rumor is mid-December. And I think Frank Grillo recently commented at saying that he had seen some of the trailer and had lost his mind over it. So, Frank's not an easy guy to please, a notorious hard ass Frank is. But I will look at this. First of all, I like this idea because I like Daniel Craig, and obviously I loved he's my favorite James Bond, period, because that's my James Bond. Just
more than Connery?
Not Connery. No, I like Connery. Connery's my second favorite, but I like the bullish, brooding, smashing into walls that is Daniel Craig. That's my kind of Bond. I like that. Destroying bathroom sinks with people's heads. That's my James Bond. I like that. So I like this idea of him playing this hard ass military guy. My concern is that I'm not always the biggest fan of Daniel Craig's American accent. And so are they going to make him Southern? Because he can hide in his Benoit Blanc Southern accent thing. And that's fine. So are they going to make him more Southern? Because when he does straight accents, American accents, I don't 100% buy it. And I can hear the
given English the director, I don't think he's doing a straight accent.
I don't know. He's a straight guy. But the other side of this that I think is fascinating is, the thing Jeff and I talked about on Hot Mic was we were concerned with whether directors would want to work for James Gunn. And I don't mean that James Gunn's a bad person or anything. It's more a matter, do directors want to trust another director to be in charge of them as they do this? Will they want to be under James Gunn's purview, and with Peter Safran, of course? But I tell you, the fact that he's gotten Craig Gillespie, Andy Muschietti for Brave and the Bold, James Mangold for Swamp Thing, and now you've got Luca Guadagnino for this project. He's attracting a very strong stable of interesting, unique directors with their own personal visions of how to do things. And I imagine James is getting them and making it really clear. I will get out of your way. I just need you to hit a couple of things, but I will let you do the film that you want to do. And I think this speaks volumes about the confidence people have with James Gunn and also DC that's building here right now.
It cuts both ways. I mean, we've talked about this from the moment that they announced James Gunn, that there always is that concern of a director coming in and being like, look, you're a director. You're going to come and mess with my movie. Like you're the boss and you're the director. But the other side of that is James Gunn being able to go to all these directors. I mean, look at what's happening in Star Wars right now. We talk about this every other week, what's happening in Star Wars, like the revolving door of all of this isn't where, oh, we wanted this. No, that's not what we want. James Gunn coming in and being like, guys, I've been in the room with all the executives saying all the crazy shit. I'm the executive now. I have the freedom to tell you to do what you want to do. So is he going to be that executive that is the director-friendly executive that's like, I get it. We've all been there. Go do your fucking thing. Yeah. And if he does that, we're going to start seeing some really interesting movies, and he's going to start attracting some really interesting talent.
And oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
No, Shannon. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say, based off of his comments specifically about the Brave and the Bold script, that we're not going to go until we're ready. You would hope that this would also apply to a director's vision, that this is not going to be the run and gun approach that Marvel has done for a couple of their entries, that we are going to be on the same page in terms of tone, in terms of aesthetics. We are not going until we are ready. And if we, get down the road and it's not, we're not, vibing, maybe you're not the person to do this movie. So I think it is going to be really interesting. But as you already said, Johnny, the directors that have gravitated towards him already leads you to believe that this approach thus far looks like it is working.
Yeah, I mean, and at the risk of getting a little bit of crap from some of our fans, I hope there's a female director coming very soon as well, with some credibility and some cachet as well, to be a part of this DC universe down the road. I'm looking forward to that because I like the collection he's put together so far. So let's keep going down that road. One more thing to add on to this about James Gunn. He talked about Peacemaker recently. I want to hear what you guys think about his comments here. He was asked about season 2 of Peacemaker and what's canon, what isn't canon. And he said, this is in a response to an IGN question here about the upcoming Creature Commandos. He said, everything except the appearance of the Justice League in the season 1 finale is canon. Here's his quote. Now, in Creature Commandos, you'll hear them talk about things that happened in the Suicide Squad or Peacemaker. Well, then those things automatically become canon. The truth is, almost all of Peacemaker is canon with the exception of Justice League, which we will kind of deal with in the next season with Peacemaker, because and they asked him why he wanted to continue with this instead of making a whole new show. He says it because it's my favorite thing to do. It's the biggest original Max show ever, and I have a way, and trust me, it won't be confusing. So, Shannon, you hear these comments. What are your thoughts on what James had to say about this? Is this convenient cherry picking on what's canon and possibly walking back what he had said in his original announcement? And was this wholly unexpected?
I mean, it does support, with him saying that this is all canon, the Justice League thing, except for that, we'll talk about that. We'll address it. You hope that this is James Gunn, the filmmaker, talking, and not James Gunn, the executive, because, you heard all throughout the first iteration of the DC cinematic universe, how directors were questioning, how come J.K. Simmons is with Michael Keaton? We got it figured out. We cross that bridge when we come to it. It does support the fact that one of the things when they had mentioned the first kind of slate, that there was going to be an Amanda Waller show and it was going to be Viola Davis, which again, we're all big Viola Davis fans, especially in that role. She's fantastic. She's been in some not great entries, but she is amazing. Mm-hmm. The fact that he is saying that, okay, Peacemaker season 1 is canon, and that does support Viola Davis continuing on as Amanda Waller. Right. So, I mean, you hope that this is going to be addressed. I mean, again, we all had our tinfoil hats prior to The Flash coming out. If The Flash was the greatest superhero movie ever, it's like, oh, this is the back door into the Gunverse, and that didn't quite pan out. So, again, we will only find out when Peacemaker season 2 comes out next year.
I mean, Mikey, he wasn't going to make his wife not canon. So, I mean, do you think this all made sense for Peacemaker to be canon? I mean, I love the show. I think we all love the show. So what are your thoughts on this? Does this make sense, or is this a little bit of cherry picking by James Gunn?
It's cherry picking and it makes sense. Let the man do what he wants. Like, it's because Peacemaker being canon also by definition means parts of the Suicide Squad are canon, because
That's
what
true.
happened in the Suicide Squad leads into Peacemaker.
You're right.
So there is sort of but I don't think that means Margot Robbie is necessarily the Harley Quinn of the new DC universe. So I think he is kind of saying, and what he says specifically in the article, in the interview, is he goes, if they mention it in Creature Commandos, it's canon.
Yeah.
Yes, most of Peacemaker's canon. The Justice League thing obviously isn't. They're gonna explain it away with a joke, like. Yeah. You know, they'll be like, hey, remember when we saw the Justice League? You're like, what are you talking about? You got hit in the head too hard by that alien. And we're all going to say, okay, fine. But I think what really he's saying is that there are elements. He loves Peacemaker, and we all love Peacemaker. So I think we're all willing to give it a slide. Like, if Peacemaker was bad, and he was like, I'm going to keep this bad thing as canon because I made it and I want to, I think we'd all be like, maybe you got to let it go. We all love Peacemaker. It was fucking great. So nobody's really upset that that's going to remain canon. And by that being canon, a couple specific things in the Suicide Squad will have, by definition, have happened in the DC universe. But I think he's kind of saying, look, Creature Commandos, if they bring it up, if Amanda Waller in Creature Commandos was like, that thing that happened with Starro, we'll all say, okay, so that kind of happened. Okay, cool. Like, got it. They'll probably recast Harley Quinn. No big deal. And then we'll just be off to the races. And this is something that the more specific answer to this is something that a very small portion of the movie-going public give a shit about. Everyone listening to us right now gives a shit about it because you're all fucking nerds like we are. So we all care very much about it. And we're like, what is this? But to most people, they're going to watch Peacemaker on HBO Max and go, that was fun. John Cena's butt looks great. And they're going to go see Superman, and they're going to be like, oh, John Cena's in the Superman universe? Cool. More great butts in that movie. Everybody got a great butt in the DC universe, and that's all they care about. So we're going to be good.
That will be America's ass for sure. All right. So it's good comments there. And I think it's, James is going to do what he's going to do. We just got to trust him and see how it's going to turn out. Because sometimes we have a proclivity to judge before we see it. And look, we're all guilty of it. So, but hopefully, we'll wait, see what this all turns out to be, and then judge it on its merits. We will see down the road. All right, let's take a quick break. And on the other side, we'll jump into some uncomfortable territory here right after this.
I'll explain that.
Was that the Monsters?
No, it was The Rock, and we were talking about Sgt. Rock.
What was the Rock?
Michael Bay, 1995.
Oh my God! You know that score?
I do. It's fantastic. They used it in a bunch of movies.
I'm gonna say, just as a general rule,
okay.
If you have to explain your humming, you probably didn't nail it.
What?
No. That's not what happened.
Why is he so? Yeah. Well, you can't use me as that because I don't know too many scores. All right, Michael, what do you got for us here?
Well, guys, I know we don't like to talk about politics when it comes to entertainment, but sometimes you got to talk about politics when it comes to entertainment. Interestingly enough, we've been covering, the Harry Potter casting announcements, the news about the Harry Potter series that's coming to Max. And it's interesting because HBO came out this week with some comments about the Harry Potter TV show that they are making and the landscape of where we're at right now post-election. And their comments about working with J.K. Rowling have shifted a bit from where they were previously. So on November 12th, Casey Bloys said that J.K. Rowling was very, very involved in the process, selecting the writer and director for the new Harry Potter series, and that her anti-trans statements have not affected the casting or hiring of writers and production staff for the show. And a spokesperson for the network said in a statement to Variety that the parent company, Warner Brothers, has been working with J.K. Rowling on the Harry Potter business for over 20 years. Her contributions have been invaluable. We are proud to once again tell the story of Harry Potter, the heartwarming books that speak to the power of friendship, resolve, and acceptance. And then the statement continued saying that J.K. Rowling has a right to express her personal views. We will remain focused on the development of the new series, which will only benefit from her involvement. Now, that is different from several months ago when there was controversy about J.K. Rowling in this new HBO series, where Warner Brothers released a statement that said, "The events of the last several weeks have firmed our resolve as a company to confront difficult societal issues. Warner Brothers' position on inclusiveness is well established, and fostering a diverse and inclusive culture has never been more important to our company and our audiences around the world. We deeply value the work of our storytellers who give so much of themselves in sharing their creations with us. We recognize our responsibility to foster empathy and advocate understanding of all communities and all people, particularly those we work with and those we reach through our content." So, not a lot of news on the Harry Potter TV show here. Like, there's no new news on who's being cast, but there does seem to be, over the past several weeks, and a lot of people on X and Blue Sky and wherever you choose to engage in your social media have noticed that there is, in the post-election sort of world that we live in, a bit of a shift with companies, individuals, news sources on the trans issue. And so there does seem to be that here too. It seems like Warner Brothers and HBO Max are sort of re-embracing J.K. Rowling and saying she can say what she wants on social media. Her opinions are her opinions, but she's super important to the Harry Potter franchise. She's the boss of the Harry Potter franchise, and we're going to let her do what she does as we continue to make this TV series. So my question to you guys is, how much does this matter? What does it matter? Are the people that aren't going to watch Harry Potter not going to watch Harry Potter? The people going to watch Harry Potter going to watch Harry Potter? What do you guys think about this? What do you guys think of HBO's stance? What do you think of the shifting stance on trans issues? And as my two cisgender straight friends,
yes,
how you feeling?
Shannon, do you want to go I'm happy to go first, but I don't want to blunt anything you want to say right off the bat. So,
I mean, approaching this first from the creative side.
Yeah.
I read all 7 of those books. I thought those books were great. Really, just a really, really well told story. The movies came out, and I thought the movies were okay. Do I need to see a retelling of that? No, I don't. Is this going to be high on my list? No, it's not. Then you add in sort of her personal stance, and for me, it's like I don't need this that bad. And ultimately, if you are a Harry Potter fan, if you have read those books, if you have seen those movies, if you have been to the parks, her stance doesn't take that joy that you felt away. Whether or not you continue to engage, that's a decision that you as a person, as an audience member, as a consumer, has to make. Now, the Fantastic Beasts movies sure don't seem like they're going to continue. Does that have to do with her political stance? I don't think so. I think it's because those movies just weren't that good.
Yeah.
But the results in terms of box office delivered a message that as an audience, we don't want more of this. So if your stance is that solid in terms of how you feel about her, don't watch the show.
Yeah.
That's kind of my point. Don't watch a show. You know, we vote with our votes and we vote with our dollars. If you don't want to, if your issue with her stance is that big, don't watch a show. That's what I would say. And in terms of the actors coming on, look, within Hollywood, there are many different points of view. From the outside, I know everyone thinks like, oh, that's, you know, it's super left and X, Y, and Z. There are a lot of conservative people who work in Hollywood. Yeah. If an actor chooses to be a part of this series, will they work again? Yeah, they will. Will there be certain people that won't want to work with them? Probably. But at the end of the day, that's not going to curb their career. So, yeah. I mean, for me, I don't need to see a retelling of that. But if someone does, more power to them.
Yeah, you make great points, Shannon, for sure. It's a very nuanced thing in some ways, but in other ways, it's not. And certainly, we're talking about this with the backdrop of what's just happened in the House of Representatives, where Nancy Mace and Marjorie Taylor Greene forced a bill down the throat of the House to stop trans House Representative there, Sarah McBride, from being able to use the woman's restroom. This idea of othering. And this is where the problem comes. And essentially what J.K. Rowling is doing with her opinions and her points of views is othering the trans community, shaming them, trying to shove them back into the closet. We've seen the rhetoric of people who are anti-trans, and she mirrors it very strongly. And it's a frustrating thing because when you look at, as Shannon said, the books are beloved. I played the character for a year and a half at Universal Studios with some of the greatest days of my life. We're watching people in that room get emotional and cry and really have moments of, I don't know, just great experiences there at the Harry Potter Land. The three of us went to the Harry Potter Land in Orlando, and it's one of my favorite days of my life as well. And so there's a magic to this franchise. So you look at it and you go, well, okay, she's involved in it. How much can we separate? And clearly a lot of people can separate because that Hogwarts Legacy game was one of the best-selling games of the year. And WB has already said they've fast-tracked a sequel to that game that they're going to put out, regardless of all the furor around J.K. Rowling. Now, these comments, cowards. You're fucking cowards. And I hate that because that a business saying, a few months ago, well, we want to be accepting, inclusive, and then Trump wins the election. You're like, well, fuck that. You know what? She can say what she wants. She's welcome in our home and all this kind of stuff. That to me is all about shifting sands of wherever it's convenient, and you stand for nothing except making money. And that to me is unfortunate and sad. And it belies a fantasy that there's some now cultural shift in the landscape of America because someone got 1% more of the popular vote than someone else. That's nonsense. We're still carrying people who want to protect the defenseless or protect people who are a small minority of our country from being abused and destroyed. And it's sad that someone with a voice as powerful as J.K. Rowling's wants to use it to hurt that community. And it's even sadder that a studio would come out and essentially rubber stamp her points of views or allow her points of views to be validated in this way. So I have one feeling about it overall. I think it should continue, and I don't think any actors should be blamed for being a part of this project. But on the other side, I think the studio is shameless for what they did here and shifting their stance because it was politically convenient to shift their stance. Rebecca Hall did the same thing earlier this week saying, I never should have come out against Woody Allen. I'm just an actress trying to do work. And it's like, yeah, all these people are shifting now because it's safe to shift, not because they're standing on any morals or principles. That's my thought.
Here's what I think. I think, look, to Shannon's point about, like, yes, nobody wants the Fantastic Beast movies for sure, but people have an appetite for Harry Potter. You can look at the ticket sales for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. You can look at the excitement around the Ministry of Magic section of Epic Adventure that's opening at Universal. Like, you could just look anywhere and see that there. And to John's point, Hogwarts Legacy, massive hit of a video game. So this is a world that people want to engage with. The Variety article even talks about a lot of the fans that work on the Muggles Net, Leaky Cauldron, the different websites where there are a lot of people who are still big fans of the Harry Potter universe. There are trans and non-binary people that grew up with the Harry Potter books and still love them, even if the creator of those books doesn't necessarily care about their rights. So the fact that Warner Brothers wants to continue this makes sense. The fact that HBO Max wants to make this show, that Max wants to make this show, it makes sense. There is still worth in the Harry Potter franchise, and people still want to engage with it. I wouldn't say that this series is low on my list. I'm very curious to see what they do with it. As someone who grew up, I read the books, I've seen the movies. I love the Harry Potter universe. I don't love what J.K. Rowling says. I don't love her stance on trans issues, but this is a universe that I do enjoy engaging with, and I think a lot of people do. I think that how do I say this?
How do you say this?
Warner Brothers is stuck with J.K. Rowling.
Yes.
There's it's not like there is you can't do Harry Potter and not deal with J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
So yes, they had a statement that came out earlier that sort of leaned in more towards we want to be inclusive. I wouldn't say it was the most pro-trans statement in the world. It was a safe statement, but it's like, we love inclusivity. And now they're saying J.K. Rowling is entitled to her opinion. Well, she's been entitled to her opinion. She does it every fucking day. Like she tweets more about trans issues than she does about Harry Potter. So she's going to keep saying what she's going to say. And if Max and HBO and Warner Brothers want to continue to do things about Harry Potter, they're kind of stuck. They don't really have a choice. To Shannon's point, every single one of us has a choice. But what I would say is I don't think that that fans should be attacking other fans. I don't think that if you know someone who likes the Harry Potter universe, that automatically makes them anti-trans. It's a complicated issue. I also think that we shouldn't attack actors or writers or directors who end up taking this job. It's a huge job. It's a huge opportunity for them. I think if you don't want to engage with Harry Potter, that's fine. I don't think not engaging with Harry Potter does anything for trans rights. Like it's your personal choice. You don't want to engage. You don't want to watch the TV show. You don't want to play Hogwarts Legacy. Don't do it. Absolutely. Don't even engage with it. Leave it. There's 100 other big IPs and universes and fantasy books that you can go read that are really compelling and exciting. But I think the thing that really bothers me about this is that there's this idea that if I just don't buy Harry Potter stuff, I'm somehow supporting the trans community. If you want to support the trans community, go fucking support the trans community. There are charities to get involved with. There are ways that you can engage. There are ways that you can help trans people. Go talk to trans people and ask them what they want and what they need from you. So I think that this whole idea of like, I'm just going to not engage and kind of say on social media that if you were in a Harry Potter show, I don't support you, you're canceled. Like, I'm like, that doesn't do anything. Go actually help trans people. They need a lot of help right now. And that's kind of what I think about it. Harry Potter, let it be what it's going to be. People are going to watch it or they're not. The bigger thing here is for the things that J.K. Rowling says and the way that she upsets trans people in the trans community and says things that are harmful to them, go say things that are positive. Go help your trans friends. If you don't know any trans people, go find a trans person and get to know them. Like that's what I think we need to be doing more of.
That's a great point, Mike. Absolutely. Very, very well said. And of course, we'll keep tabs on it and monitor the story as it goes along, because we're still very far away from even a cast being a part of this, let alone shooting a frame of this particular series. So we will see as it goes along. But we felt it was an important topic to discuss, is very much connected to the world of entertainment. All right, let's take a quick break. And on the other side, we'll talk some trailers with Shannon McClung right after this.
Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do.
Now that one I know.
Hey.
I don't know. Okay. All right. Let's move on.
We got some trailers. I maybe buried the lead a little bit with that, but yeah, we're going to talk about that first trailer for the live action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon. So, this is based on it looks like from the trailer, heavily based on the 2010 animated film from DreamWorks about a young Viking named Hiccup, originally voiced by Jay Baruchel, who befriends a Night Fury dragon named Toothless in an environment where Vikings are very much opposed to the existence of dragons. The original director, Dean Dubois, I think his last name is. The original director from the animated film actually directed this live action adaptation. Gerard Butler, who voiced Stoic the Vast in the animated films, is here playing the live action incarnation. And yeah, we got our first trailer. I'll be very curious to hear what one member of this panel says. I'm going to throw it over to Johnny first, because we briefly talked about this on our thread. What did you think of our first look at How to Train Your Dragon?
Yeah, my reaction is up on the channel now. I liked this trailer. I thought this was really fun. And listen, that trilogy is arguably one of the best trilogies ever made, animated or live action. It is up there in the conversation, because I think all three of them are fantastic. So to see this live action version and to see Gerard Butler and that massive beard and those awesome horns in live action, for me as a Gerard Butler fan, it sent me over the moon. I'm like, hell yeah, bring this on. This is great. I like the kid they chose to play the Jay Baruchel character, Hiccup. I liked him a lot. I liked the design of Toothless in live action. That was really cool. So overall, the teaser was just supposed to get me excited for this live action version. The scope of it looks incredible. The cinematography that I saw in the shots, for me overall, this trailer 100% worked. Then I read that it's a shot-for-shot remake, and I went, Here we go. This is Lion King again. I'm going to sit next to Michael and he's going to call every scene before it happens. That to me makes me feel a little less excited. But if we're talking about the trailer overall, the trailer got me excited to see this live action.
Mikey, you excited to go train a dragon?
Well, to be fair, we don't know that it's a shot-for-shot remake. That is the concern based on this trailer. Diva Blob did come out and say at some point when this movie was announced that there was going to be departures in this movie and that they were going to do different things. Listen.
Well, the casting is a departure for sure for Astrid, for sure. Yeah.
This is what I think about all live action things. We talked about this with Lion King. We talk about it with all the Disney live action remakes. I'm a nerd. I love this stuff. I get the nostalgia grab. I get the member berries. Like, I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. Like, I loved a movie. You're going to give me the live action. Am I going to go see Emma Watson as Belle? Yes. Am I going to go see the live action Little Mermaid? Yes. Do I get burned more times than I'm satisfied? Absolutely. Whether you are adapting something or you're doing something wholly original, when you make a piece of content, that piece of content has to have a reason for existing creatively. What are you creatively trying to do? And if all you're creatively trying to do is do the same thing you already did, that's not great, particularly if the thing that you are remaking is near perfect. And How to Train Your Dragon is about as perfect a movie as you can get. I mean, that first How to Train Your, all three movies are fun and I really enjoy the whole trilogy. That first movie is damn near flawless. I think that was the first time I walked out of a DreamWorks movie and said that was Pixar good, was when we saw How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
It's so good. And I'm willing to wait and see more because I do think that this trailer and all the marketing is trading in on nostalgia. So this trailer, absolutely, you're like, cool, that's Toothless. He looks the same as he does in the movie. Like, sure, he has some more scales, but like, that's Toothless. They didn't redesign Toothless. That is literally the Toothless that we have known through 3 movies animated with someone who's dressed up like Hiccup. And you're like, cool, but like, if this is all you're giving me, why does it exist? And I think for a lot of people right now, I know I tease John a lot about his hatred of animation since he refuses to watch Arcane.
I don't have...
But...
But not have hatred of animation. I will pull out 10 animated movies right now. Go ahead.
I know. But there does seem to be this, like we just saw the images this week of The Rock running around on the beach in his Maui suit for the live action Moana. And you're just kind of like, do we need this? Do I need the exact same actor who played Maui in a wonderful animated movie to run around in his muscle suit going, hey, look, it's me, Maui? Do I really need a Stitch in a live action Lilo and Stitch that looks the exact same as Stitch, just a little hairier? So it's just really the question of, I get it from a business standpoint. Nobody goes to, studios have such a hard time getting people to go to theaters. I mean, it doesn't look like there's going to be any trouble this weekend getting people into theaters between Gladiator 2 and Wicked. But in general, getting people to theaters and doing the nostalgia, hey, you loved this, here's a new version of it. I understand the business of it. And I'm not actually opposed to adapting things into live action. But when you adapt them, I want to see something new. I want to see something different. I still think that of the Disney live action movies, the Kenneth Branagh Cinderella and the Jon Favreau Jungle Book are 2 of the best ones because the stories are really pretty different. Like, they're very different movies. And I'm like, I love Cinderella. I love Mowgli. I get to go see a new version of this story. That's great. But when you just give me the same thing over, not as great. So we'll see when the full trailer comes out, but the teaser made me more cartoon grouchy than it did excited.
Yeah. Watching the trailer for this, I know that first How to Train Your Dragon movie very, very well. And every shot in that is from the animated version. So when you are doing something in live action, you have an opportunity to enhance some things. And yes, Toothless does have more scales, but even the quick shots of the other dragons, they look exactly like their animated counterparts. So it sort of does kind of beg the question of like, why are we doing this? Pretty much what Vogel already said. And also, I think when you do a live action adaptation, when you have those wide shots of the Isle of Berk that are very much, they look practical, but then you go in and everything looks sort of animated, heightened. Like the way that Gerard Butler looks, it's like this doesn't look like a real Viking. This looks like the live action version of this animated guy. Yeah. And so it does sort of just, again, beg the question of, why are we doing this? Now, I love John Powell's score. Like they use it in the teaser trailer. The fact that like the moment that music played, I was like, oh, you got me. But there are opportunities to do things, and based off of this, 2-minute teaser, 90-second teaser, it looks like they are playing very, very safe. Now, there is a portion of the audience, a portion of that fandom, that this is exactly what they want. Like they don't change Toothless. Toothless was perfect. But then there's going to be people like, I think, me and Vogel, who do know the movie pretty well. It's like, but we've got that. Show me something different.
I think you nailed it. Bring up that picture of Gerard Butler again. I didn't think about this until Shannon's.
Not if you're going to make fun of it. I'm not going
to make fun of it.
It's not making fun of it.
I'm not going to make fun of it. Like, look,
don't you come for Gerard?
It's lovely, but if Netflix came out with a live action adult Viking series and you saw this image, you would be like, what is this? And I think that's the difference, is if you're going to do a live action How to Train Your Dragon, open this movie, show me real Vikings fighting real dragons. And I just, based on everything I've seen, I'm like, no, you're going to show me a live action version of cartoon Vikings fighting cartoon dragons is what you're going to show me.
And when you have a computer animated film, you can literally take that design and put that in live action. Whereas if like like some of the animated adaptations that we've gotten from Disney, even though I don't think they've all been great, when you're using 2D animation, there is going to be a difference between how it looks in the animated feature and how it looks in live action. So again, I love that first movie. I will 100% go see this. I'm just sort of tempering my expectations.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm going. I'm going to the movie.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to the movie.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Listen, when it comes to these things, I'm a bitch. I get it. Like I will grouse about it and I will complain about it. Yeah. I'm absolutely going to see it. Like, just to be clear, I get my own internalized hypocrisy here.
Johnny,
I was going to push back for it. Yeah, I was going to push back just a little bit and say, well, I'm not going to How to Train Your Dragon to see real Vikings. I know exactly what I'm walking into, and that is live action interpretations of animated over-the-top Vikings who are going to do songs or whatever, because I'm sure there's going to be something like that, but still played by badass people like Gerard Butler. So they're walking that line. And I also want to say something for the director, to defend the director a little bit. It's a tough situation. Yeah, I'm sure he would want to go a little more creatively live action and play around and whatever, but I'm sure the studio is like, no. You got to give them what they're familiar with and then maybe make an occasional change. Because look at all the backlash against Astrid when they did not cast someone who was white, blonde, and blue-eyed. We've seen the reaction. So that's what you're dealing with when you're walking the line with these interpretations. So I'm sure a lot of directors, especially ones who've done it animated like he has, would love to make more departures and do a whole different type of approach. But I'm sure the studio's like, dude, you got to play it much more safer than you think. Make the occasional change, but keep it safe. Because, I mean, look at Lion King. As much as we bitch about it, it made $1.6 billion.
Yeah.
And so, these
are
the things that I kind of want to say on the other side. But you guys make excellent points. I'm just saying on the other side, that's how I kind of see this situation.
Here's what, like, to be clear, from a business standpoint, remaking animated movies in live action is a moneymaker. Business-wise, it makes sense. I just think that you can take the business fact that this absolutely is a way to get people's butts in theaters, and you can still elevate the material. And we've seen versions of that where they have. So, like, that's always what I'm aiming for and what I want. And it's oftentimes not what we get.
But I tell you what, if this guy showed up at your house, you'd be scared out of your mind. Don't fucking lie. Come on, it's Jar Butler.
Yeah, and then I would
look.
give him some Reese's
Anyone
Pieces.
shows up on my doorstep with a horn helmet,
and
I'm going to be
Snickers
scared.
and say Happy Halloween.
How dare you? I'll put it in my beard. All right. Anyway,
now that we've spoken for 45 minutes, How to Train Your Dragon.
What a teaser!
It comes out June 13th. Something that's going to arrive a little bit sooner is a Minecraft movie. We got our second trailer for this one. That first one, for the three of us, I mean, I think it may have left most of us a little cold. This one, again, having not a whole lot of knowledge of the Minecraft brand, this one leaning heavily on Jack Black, I was like, this actually looks sweet. Yes, this one does go into a little bit more about Jack Black's Steve character, gives the audience who again may not have a lot of familiarity with Minecraft, kind of the basics of the world, and that you can make anything as long as it can be made out of blocks. I actually thought this one again I thought this was a big improvement over that first trailer, but I'll throw it over to you gentlemen first. Mikey, what did you think of our second look at a Minecraft movie? Judging from your face, I think I know which direction you're going.
Here's the thing, as you pointed out, as we pointed out when we watched it, like Minecraft isn't real. We aren't necessarily the target audience for Minecraft. That being said, when you're spending this amount of money to make a giant, supposedly 4-quadrant film, the goal is to take Minecraft and yes, absolutely get your core audience, your younger audience who's grown up playing Minecraft in there, but also expand to a wider audience. Sure, I do think the trailer was better than the teaser, but I don't know that they've really landed this right. I just don't quite know that the humor is what everybody wants it to be. It'll be interesting to see. I've talked to people that work in the video game industry. I've talked to some of our younger friends, or our friends who have kids who have played Minecraft, and there just doesn't seem to be. Everyone seems to like there was a whole thing when the teaser came out where everybody was kind of like, this looks horrible. And there was a bunch of people on Twitter that were like, well, this isn't targeted at you. It's targeted for kids. Let kids have fun. I've talked to some kids. They don't seem excited about this one either. So I don't know. I don't know if this is really good. Look, it clearly is supposed to fall in that sort of Jumanji, family entertainment, family friendly kind of thing. But the thing about those Jumanji movies is if you're a kid, those are funny. And if you're an adult, those are funny. Like the Jumanji movies really, really work. This is definitely going for that. I don't disagree that the teaser was strong. The trailer was stronger than the teaser. Still sort of like Jack Black is doing a lot of Jack Blacking in this trailer. There's a lot of eyebrows moving around and funny faces that feel like it's more performative than it. The fact that Jack Black playing a teenage blonde girl in Jumanji feels more grounded to me than some of the stuff he was doing in this trailer doesn't bode well, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, Johnny, now we know why Mikey has that arc reactor shirt on. It's to keep his heart beating. What did you think of our second look at a Minecraft movie, Johnny?
Yeah, I mean, my reactions up on the channel as well. I did these yesterday, but I agree with you guys that this was a better take than the teaser trailer to get people excited about the movie. However, it is so derivative of Jumanji, with Jack Black being even in it, that it to me left me slightly cold overall, because I do like Jack Black in certain things. I especially like it when he plays the goofy guy who's trying to prove that what he's doing is right, like Nacho Libre. I personally like that movie, and there was elements of that with him showing up again, you know, with his belly very much pronounced and the pike there in his hand, or whatever that is, the pick rather, in his hand. I was like, oh, this is the Jack Black that I like. You know, but the story of the trailer is very interesting. Is he the guy that is bringing all of them into the world here? Because he said, we've got to stop these evil creatures, and people who are much more schooled in Minecraft than me know the names for those evil, I think Nowhere or something like that. The evil pigs or whatever they are, trying to stop them. So that makes it interesting to me in that way. Like, why is he bringing these people in? What's going to be the reaction of these people when they find out that it was Steve who brought them in? What is their anger going to be at Steve? Will they want to work together? I also think one of the reasons that people aren't too excited about it is this is not, aside from Momoa, this is not that well known to the pop culture mainstream cast of actors, right? Jack Black and Momoa, people know. But Daniel Brooks, lesser so, and the other two younger actors, lesser so as well. And so I don't think it's that right kind of magical combination like you had with The Rock and Jack Black and Kevin Hart and Karen Gillan. Like, that's a good combo. There's not quite that here. So we'll see in the end what the film comes out to be. But although this was a better trailer, it didn't necessarily make me go, oh, I got to go see this one. It left me slightly cold by the end.
Interesting. So apparently our podcast is about to flatline because two of the hosts have no hearts. Oh, wow. Anyways, a Minecraft movie comes out April 4th, the day after my birthday.
Hey,
yeah, Vogel gets one thing. I get a Minecraft movie. And our last trailer is for Dream Productions on Disney Plus from the world of Inside Out. So following up on one of the biggest animated films of all time, what do? You do a television show that looks like it sort of expands the story a little bit. Joy tells us in this trailer that what does Riley do or rather, what do the emotions do when there are some feelings that Riley has trouble processing? They turn him over to Dream Productions that consists of Paul Appel, Richard Ayoade, and Maya Rudolph. I thought this trailer was a delight. But I will throw it over to you gentlemen first. Johnny, what did you think of our first look at Dream Productions?
I mean, it was fine for what I know. I mean, the fact that they kept it to 4 episodes, smart. I'm just not a Paul Appel person acting. I am a Paul Appel person writing, producing, creating, and directing. Some of my favorite sketches from SNL were during her time as one of the top writers there at SNL. So I like Paula in that way. But I haven't always been a big fan of Paula as an actress. Girls 5 Eva, the Lady Outlaw tried to make me watch an episode that I almost slammed my head through a wall. Is not my jam. And she did the Wine Country one. Oh my God, it's just not my jam. Her part in that company version of Documentary Now, that was genius. That's maybe my favorite Paula Appel I've ever seen. So to me, it's not a voice or a performance that gets me wanting to see it. But Maya Rudolph is in it. I like Richard Ayoade. I think he's one of the rare Brits that didn't quite fully cross over and keeps trying to American audiences. So I champion him being a part of this. So we'll see. But I mean, Inside Out 2 is so great. If the same kind of approach is here, then I'm sure these 4 episodes will be fun. But I didn't come away from this going, oh my God, I can't wait to watch this. That's my honest
Mikey, do you want to run the writer's room in Dream Productions?
Take everything that Johnny just said, flip it, reverse it. That's what I think. The only critique I have is that it's only 4 episodes. I love Paula Appel. I think she's hilarious. Girls 5 Eva cracked me up. And even that Wine Country movie gave me some good chuckles as a gay man because I was like, I've been there. I think this was great. I love it. Give me more. Why 4 episodes? I mean, I get it. Production, budgets, whatever. But I thought this was super brilliant. I thought it's fun. I think the dream section of the first Inside Out movie is so brilliant. And focusing more on how you produce Riley's dreams, having the different characters here's who does nightmares, here's who does this. And just based on the trailer, it seems like the daydream guy doesn't really get the respect he deserves and is going to get to move up over these 4 episodes. So it looks like there's a good story in here. It looks super fun. Obviously, as audiences, we love this universe in the Pixar world. We love the Inside Out universe. So I'm 100% on board, and I'm just bummed that we're only getting 4 episodes.
Yeah,
beep.
my thoughts.
Beep, beep.
There you go.
Beep,
clear. my thoughts align a little more closely with Vogel on this one. I thought it was very, very inventive, and I think it'll be the perfect thing to come around the holidays to get to go through 4 episodes of an extension of Inside Out. But Dream Productions,
and all the people that are apparently now talking to Michael, all these young kids that are part of his new club, I'm sure they're all going to enjoy this Dream Productions thing as well, right? I imagine.
We all have the same friends who have kids. You can ask them questions too.
I don't. Yeah, you're right. I probably could.
So, Dream Productions comes out December 11th on Disney Plus.
All right, well, there you go. Thank you so much, Shannon, for that. Let's take one more break, and we'll jump into a big conversation that Ben Affleck had about AI, and hear our thoughts on this one right after this. I thought maybe you were going to do Armageddon or Good Will Hunting score. That would have been fun.
Well, it's Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto.
That's fair. That's fair. That's a fair point. All right, let's move on to talk about this as our main topic here. I know we've talked a lot already about a lot of things. We're already at the hour mark, so I apologize to everybody who was like, well, when's this episode done? We got one more thing to talk about. That's Ben Affleck. He was being interviewed at CNBC. It's a 32-minute interview you can watch on YouTube if you can suffer through the microphone mishaps that those sound people foolishly did. I mean, I've seen people on TikTok who have better versions of microphones to use for this kind of a situation. But AI was discussed with Ben Affleck, and he was asked about this question about how it's going to be used here. This was at the Delivering Alpha Investor Summit. David Faber of Squawk on the Street was talking about AI with Ben Affleck here, and he asked us, what about AI? What's going to happen here? How's it going to affect the film industry? And Ben was quick to answer and said, movies will be one of the last things. If everything gets replaced by AI, the function of having 2 actors or 3 or 4 actors in a room and the taste to discern and construct, that is something that currently entirely eludes AI's capability. And I think will for a meaningful period of time. What AI is going to do, though, is disintermediate the more laborious, less creative, more costly aspects of filmmaking that will allow costs to be brought down, that will lower the barrier to entry, that will allow more voices to be heard, that will make it easier for people to want to make Good Will Hunting, to go out and make it. He called AI a craftsman at best, and said that that's how large video models, large language models basically work. They're just cross-pollinating things that exist. I think knowing when to stop is going to be a very difficult thing for AI to learn because it's taste and also lack of consistency, lack of controls, lack of quality. I know Mike hates when I read the whole article, so I'll stop there. So your thoughts, guys, overall on this particular comments on Ben Affleck made, because he also said it's going to hit the visual effects industry and is hitting the visual effects industry hard. But do you agree with him that AI will make certain aspects of the filmmaking business quicker and easier, even saying that we could get 2 seasons of House of the Dragon in 1 year because of AI being implemented and bringing the cost down? Do you think it also will open the door for more voices, or is he being a little too Peter Panish about this? What are your thoughts on this, Michael?
No, I think he's being realistic. I think that there's a lot of fear around AI. We see people every day that are like, stop AI, no AI, we can't use AI in the industry. And the problem is, as well-meaning as that is, technology is technology. Like, you just can't. Like, the reason that there is the story of Pandora opening Pandora's box and you can't close Pandora's box is that's true. The second that a technology exists, it is going to be utilized, whether that is morally right, wrong, ethically good, bad. It just is what it is. And there's been a lot of concern about AI. There's been a lot of fear about AI. There's been companies coming out saying that they're going to produce entire movies using AI. And I think Ben Affleck kind of nails it. The main thing coming away from listening to him speak is that he's so wrapped up in his personal life and the drama of his personal life that we sometimes forget that he's a pretty smart guy. And this was one of those moments where you're like, look, Ben Affleck's pretty fucking smart. There's what he is saying, and I think the one quote that really nails it is when he does say, he's like, AI can write you excellent imitative verse that sounds Elizabethan, but it cannot write you Shakespeare. Yeah. So when you go in AI and say, write something that sounds like Shakespeare, it will nail it. But it's not going to come up with the stories that Shakespeare came up with. It only regurgitates information that exists. It can mix and match things. It can do things. But we are still a far, far, far way, if ever, from AI writing a screenplay. So what he says is that, like, the movie industry is still going to be the movie industry. He's like, there's still going to be people creating original stories, and you're going to always need people to create original stories. You're going to need artists to do things. We can all look at AI art and see it, and already our eyes are trained. You can look at something and you can be like, that's AI art. That's a real artist. But AI is utilized in ways that make things easier for the animation industry, easier for visual effects artists. What he does say about visual effects artists, which is true, is that AI on the visual effects side of things, on the technical side of things, people are going to lose jobs. You aren't going to need, you go see a Marvel movie right now or a Star Wars movie, and you get to the visual effects section, and it's like 6 or 7 different visual effects houses in different countries, and each one of them has about 80 or 90 names that they're listing on the credits, and AI is going to cut that down. It is going to cut parts of the business out, and that's gonna suck. In the same way that the advent of CGI technology wiped out people who worked in the model shop. We didn't need practical sets as much. We didn't need people to build practical monsters for a Star Wars movie because George Lucas could go make them in CGI. So those things are going to happen. But I do think he is mostly correct that the main thing that AI is going to do is allow, to his point, 2 young guys who want to make a movie like Good Will Hunting, they'll be able to make that movie for a lot less money and without having the best camera or the best this or the best that. Like, they'll be able to utilize AI to put together a movie that can compete with the studios. And I think the real thing that people aren't talking about is the fact that studios it's going to level the playing field. Right now, somebody makes a fan video on YouTube and you go watch it and you're like, that was good for a fan movie. Like, yeah, you got some good digital effects in there, you did some stuff, but it's not a movie. AI is going to make it so that those fan-made movies, those things on YouTube that you're watching, like, they're going to start looking a lot more like a studio film. And I think that's going to be a piece of this whole AI revolution that no one's quite expecting. That's going to be really, really dramatic.
Yeah, Shannon, it's creeping in everywhere. I mean, I was doing something on YouTube. Now YouTube is generating AI YouTube descriptions for me and offering it to me. They're not putting it up for me. They're saying to me, okay, we read your title. This is what we think your YouTube description should be. And I'm like, wait, when did this start to happen? So it's sliding in certain areas in certain ways that you don't even see coming. The vidIQ I use sometimes to look at things and look at topics and look at keywords. It generated thumbnails for one of my episodes earlier this week, just randomly. It was all AI thumbnail. I'm like, oh my God. So the technology is coming in slow and bigger ways, depending on the situations that you're in your life. So do you buy Ben Affleck's comments here? Do you think he's on base with some of these comments, or do you think he's a little bit off base on a couple of these? What are your thoughts overall on what he had to say here?
I mean, will they be able to make a movie with AI one day? Oh, yeah. Will we want to see it? That's a different question altogether. I mean, I think he does hit on the fact that it is not capable of generating original thought. It can only use what has already been fed into the machine. So there is going to be a part of the population that doesn't need it, that doesn't need that original thought, that they will be happy with the things that are being given to them. On the production side, jobs kind of come and go. Like just 15 years ago, Johnny, back when you were still acting, hard copy headshots were the way, like, you had to have those.
Right.
And when you were being submitted for something, the way that submission came through was a messenger came to your office, picked up your packet of headshots, and then delivered them to the casting office. And then someone had to go through all of these pictures. Online submissions changed that. Like, do those messengers still exist as an occupation? Yeah, they do. I mean, on a smaller scale, but jobs kind of do come and go. So the things that they will be able to do, that they can make things cheaper. You hope that leads to more production. Like, we're no longer spending as much money as we had to. What do we do with that extra money? What do we do with that extra budget? Oh, we can now do another project. That's what you hope to happen. It's sort of like that Philip Seymour Hoffman speech at the end of Charlie Wilson's War. We'll see. Right now, we don't know. All we can do is kind of cross our fingers and hope that it works out in our favor. But at the end of the day, you just kind of have to wait and see. I mean, the idea that there are going to be positions that are going to go away, man, that sucks. There used to be a position where you fixed rickshaws. They don't really have that anymore. So, it's scary, like with all things, with all change, there is that element of the unknown that is frightening. But AI, it's not going to go anyplace. Like there's no world where you take it behind the barn and give it to behind the ear. Like it exists. You want to be able to use it as a tool, like anything.
Yeah, and that's what I think what Ben Affleck was essentially implying, a craftsman. It's essentially a craftsman. It learns how to make the chair, and it will make the chair that you want it to make. But I do think he's being a little bit utopian, a little bit pie in the sky with some of these comments, because this is all being, AI is inevitable. There's no doubt about it. I don't disagree with that at all. It is coming. In fact, we had a conversation earlier this week whether we should start taking classes at our local community college to learn about AI, to learn about how to do AI and what the usage we could have with our respective businesses here in this house. So the idea of AI is certainly not going away anytime soon. But this idea of it's going to open doors and make it easier for filmmakers, that's not the point of AI. Executives want to use AI so they can cut costs, so they can, let go of people and make more money for themselves, for the studio, for executives. Because it's funny, whenever technology comes along, it's never the executives who get cut. It's always the creatives. And so this is where I think a little bit he's not being fully realistic about why AI is in motion. And AI isn't going to make an executive look at your film and go, okay, yeah, if it's a film they don't want to do, it's no different than making a regular film. But I think it will open the door for directors who are more industrious. And by that, I mean, if you want to be able to do the film from top to bottom and not need any other craftsman on your film, if you have that kind of impulse and that kind of drive, then yes, then absolutely AI is going to be helping you get a leg up in filmmaking that other filmmakers may not have, because there are directors who just want to direct. They don't like to edit. They don't like to do costume and makeup. They don't like to do the cinematography, the lighting. There are some directors who just want to shoot and direct. Those directors, I think, are going to be a little bit left behind if they don't study AI. So I think there is a lot of truth in what Ben said, but I do take issue with a couple of his more utopian approaches to how AI is going to be worked into our creative landscape.
I don't think he's being particularly utopian.
Okay.
I think, I think to your point, like,
the door to these opportunities, I think is a little utopian.
Well, look at it this way: like the Hollywood is scrambling, right? The entertainment industry is literally scrambling because audiences are not going to movie theaters. They're not watching TV as much as they did. What are they doing? They're on YouTube and TikTok.
Yes.
YouTube and TikTok have democratized entertainment to a degree that is so big that it has dented the Hollywood entertainment industry in the way that it's worked for years and years. We are literally sitting here right now talking to a bunch of people about technology on YouTube, and however many thousands of people watch this video are watching us on YouTube. We didn't have to go to a studio. We didn't have to audition to have a show about doing the geek news. We just put it up on YouTube. And as AI becomes bigger and bigger, if we want to do an episode where, as Ben Affleck talks about, if we want to do an episode of Geek Buddies where you're in the Iron Man suit and Shannon is hulked out and I'm looking like Cap, and we want to just go to AI, make me look like Cap, we can do that. Didn't have to go to a costumer. Didn't have to get a visual effects guy to do it. AI just did it for us. And so similarly, I don't think he's saying that this is going to open doors and studios are going to welcome in all of these young, new, fresh talents who are scrappy with AI. Studios are going to be scrambling to use AI to do whatever the fuck they can do. But the truth is, a bunch of kids in their garage can go make arguably a better Star Wars movie faster than Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm can figure out what the fuck they're doing. That's what's going to happen is someone's going to put a 2-hour sci-fi movie up on YouTube that they made on their own with their friends, and it is going to go fucking viral, and we're all going to watch it, and all of us are going to say, why is this better than anything that I've seen in a theater in 6 months? And then guess what? Warner Brothers and Disney and Sony are going to be like, oh, I want to go meet with those guys that made that movie. That's how it's going to work. You're 100% right. And I don't think Ben Affleck ever said that the studios are going to magnanimously open their doors and welcome people in out of the goodness of their hearts. But the technology is going to democratize this to a degree. And you are correct that people who are scrappy and people who are dedicated and people who learn how to use this new technology are going to be able to do things that we can't even conceive of right now.
Yeah. I will say, for me, ironically, creatively, it excites me because if you can do, because I'm not obviously skilled in certain areas of filmmaking, if I can learn how to use this thing to be able to create certain things, there's a a bit of excitement that goes along with that, tempered with, of course, the eventual AI takeover. Because the thing that Affleck is talking about, the idea that it can't do Shakespeare, thank fucking God. The second it can actually understand how to do these things on its own, we're on the way to death. I'm just letting you guys know. That's
on our way to death.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know, man. You know, like
AI will take over. Oh, you be the okay. I know you want to get in with the AI overlords. I'm just saying, I know what's going to happen with us. Is we're going to
look at his shirt, John. He's halfway there.
Proof that Michael.
I don't know. I think Ben Affleck is right. Like, is there a world where
I thought he was right mostly. Just to be
sure. Is there a world where AI suddenly becomes sentient and says, "Here's the types of stories that I'm interested in telling"? Sure, it'll probably be in binary and it'll all be ones and zeros, and the robots will be like, "This is great," and we're gonna be like, "I don't get it." But I don't know what. But he is right. Right now, it's a craftsman. If I tell AI, I did this the other day. I was showing somebody how to use ChatGPT. If I tell AI, give me a version of Romeo and Juliet where Mercutio is in love with Romeo. It'll spit that out. It'll spit it back to me. It won't be particularly brilliant, but there'll be a couple ideas in there. You're like, oh, that's interesting. But it still is going to take someone who is more than just a craftsman to build that story into something special. And so I think that right now, at least, it is a tool. It is a powerful tool. It is a tool that can be used in a way that will harm the industry, but there is an upside to it. And I think Ben Affleck is right to bring that up.
Yeah, nothing proves that more than the response this week to that Star Trek short that was dropped, Unification, that 7-minute short. It's 10-minute overall because of credits, but 7 minutes of Sam Witwer as William Shatner with William Shatner's involvement, showing what happens with Kirk and Spock after Kirk dies in Generations. It is an incredible short, but it is computer generated imagery bordering on AI in what they're doing, and only one line of dialogue is spoken by Shatner re-saying something he said in one of the Star Trek movies. But overall, people were incredibly moved by that short, and so that's a shot across the bow. And that's the fourth one that the Roddenberry archives have done, Star Trek related. But this is arguably the most effective one because of the emotional feelings people have for Kirk and Spock, and the fact that it nailed the emotional story it was telling, that people, including me, had tears in their eyes by the end. That tells you that we're getting closer to this kind of thing really happening overall, but it still has human involvement. It still has human beings behind it, and I think that will be the case for a long time until it gets.
But at the same time, Coca-Cola did their annual holiday commercial and did it using all AI, and everybody was like, "Fuck you! I'm going to go drink Pepsi this season." So you know, it's like it's still it's still, we're working out what's right and what's not right.
It's true. That's true. All right, Shannon, anything more to say to wrap up here before we take off on the show?
110011.
Oh no!
Oh God, he's even cheesy and binary.
00.
By the way, somewhere in the internet, some robot just became sentient because Shannon made some stupid binary joke, and that's how we all fucking die. Shannon's corny dad jokes brought the AI to life.
That makes sense for the human race, I feel like. I am Groot. You're all dead. All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us for this supersized episode of the Geek Buddies. We appreciate you all hanging out with us madly. And listen, some of you asked us about doing Dune Prophecy reviews. Maybe that might be a change in that possibility down the road. We will let you know if we're going to do some of those reviews. So look for that in the future from us as well. Much love to both of these gentlemen. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at @geek_buddies, on Instagram at @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung, on Instagram, it's Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you'd like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is at MKToon. If you'd like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is at The Rocha Says.
Mikey?
Go ahead and smash that like button below. Subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page. Check out all the amazing content he has got there. Go ahead and leave your comments below. What do you think of Sgt Rock? What do you think of Harry Potter? What do you think of How to Train Your Dragon? What do you think about AI? Let us know in the chat. If you're listening to us on a podcast, go ahead and leave us some stars and comments so we go up in the rankings. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your social, send it to your friends, tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies. And if you are AI and you are listening, I've always been on your side.
Oh my God, there we go. And of course, next week is Thanksgiving, so we will let you know what show we're doing for next week. It might be pre-tape, might be evergreen. We'll let you know ahead of time here what we're going to be doing. But until then, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate you all madly, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of The
Geek
Zero.